At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV! Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is our secret.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
This week's Filmmakers podcast is brought to you by Massive, the fastest way to send and receive massive film and video files. Send uncompressed dailies, locked pictures, DCPs and more with Massive. Spelt M-A-S-V. Keep listening to hear how you can receive 100 gigabytes for free towards your next transfer. Massive.
The Podfix Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 257 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking from indie film to studio films and everything in between, how to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up. In a very, very humble opinion, today we come live from AFM for you. We are not live. We recorded it live. That doesn't make sense because you kind of record everything live. But you know what I mean? It was live at the time for an audience who dropped in questions, and some of the questions are great as we went along. Now, not only did Ian Sharp host this podcast with me, who is a brilliant producer and actor in his own right. He is in Craze Code of Silence, which has just come out. And our last week's ep was with the writer and director, Ben Moll and Luke Bailey of said film. But joining myself and Ian Sharp live in air quotes was the fantastic screenwriter and producer and director Jed Shepherd, as well as screenwriter and producer Gemma Hurley. Now, these two legends, not only were amazing that they came to join us for this live talk at AFM, which we recorded in November, by the way, so a few things have changed since then in the world, like we're now in 2022. That's a big thing. Congratulations and welcome to 2022, by the way. Where do we start with these two? They're absolutely fantastic. They are, at the moment, pioneers of the indie filmmaking scene, and they're going out there and getting shit done. And now, because of that, they're making films with people like Sam Raimi and with Jason Blum, and they're really just going from strength to strength. And it was fantastic for me and Ian to chat with them live because we just had an open chat, mainly about screenwriting and pitching and where ideas come from, and writing alone versus writing together, how that collaboration works and how you can best collaborate. And when you do have a script, where do you take it? We also talked about the pitching and the treatment section and tips on how to get a meeting. We also talked about the success of Host, absolutely, and questions from the audience. Honestly, this is the way to wake you up for 2022. We thought, myself and Tobias, this would be the one to get you going, to get you through the slump of Christmas now into the new year. But this is the time, people. This is the time to attack it hard. People are looking for projects now and they're inundated. So because they're inundated, what makes you stand out? What makes your project better than any others that they go, yes, I'm going to take this one seriously? What have you done to step up? Can't just be a script. Has to be better than that. You have to have the better pitch, the better idea, the better people involved. Whatever it is, you really have to stand out. I said last week that you can go out there and make your film, and I believe you can. But I tell you what, you need cojones to do it. You need chutzpah. You need something within you to really stand out and make you have and give you that opportunity to make your film, make your TV series, whatever it may be. And first of all, that's believing in yourself and having a great project. So get that bit done and then try and get the best team you can around you. That's all I can say. So learn from these podcasts. I have some shout outs to some cool people over the Christmas period who were lovely. Caroline Oakes, Lucille Howe, Mark Hampton, Adam Murphy and Dean Kelly. Legends. I also want to give a shout out to John Watts, JP Watts. He's the director of The War Below. Brilliant film, brilliant war film. It's out now. You can watch it. But a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned about his online course. Now, at the moment, It's free for 30 days. I mean, technically that's just a 30-day trial, but there are so many cool courses on there. It really is worth looking at. So the link is Skillshare.com and the referral is Skillshare.com/r/profile/John-Watts/98. Link to it is in the show notes, but basically there's tons of courses for screenwriters, but basically that means you get John's for free, and he was willing to tell me that to let you lot know. It's worth signing up for 29 days and then unsigning if you want to, but there's some really good courses on Skillshare, so I'm not necessarily persuading you to do that. I'm just saying you get John's, JP's brilliant course right now. Sign up, link to that is in the show notes. We have some amazing podcasts coming up for you next week. Unbelievably, we have Joe Wright on this podcast, on this very podcast, the fantastic director of Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, and Cyrano, which is coming out next week as well. So we have Joe Wright and we have the screenwriter as well, Erica Schmidt. That is brilliant. It's going to be a good one. It's a double header for you next week. Joe Wright also directed Darkest Hour and Hannah, some of my favourite films. Absolutely. And he was cool, as was Erica. And then there's a little special for you on Friday, just to tie in the whole Cyrano vibe. We have 2 lead actors for you. The star of Monsters and Men and It Comes at Night, and of course Cyrano, Kelvin Harrison Jr. and Peter Dinklage. That's right, Game of Thrones is Peter Dinklage, the station agent, X-Men, Days of Future Past, and the lead in Cyrano. Cyrano himself joins us on Friday. So, what a week for you. And then coming up, we're recording with Ian McKellen. Sir Ian. Oh yeah, it's going to be a great 2022, people. Be inspired. Let's do this. Let's do this. I am heading off to New Mexico on Thursday to do a scouting recce for one of my latest films. I'll fill you in more on what that will be if it happens. But I'm trying to make shit happen. So I'm going to New Mexico to meet the production company down there who might be making my film, and some of the potential cast as well, because I'm flying back via LA. I'm trying to make stuff happen. So hopefully that inspires you as well. Sometimes you just have to take a chance. And this is me taking the chance and going, well, if I don't do it, maybe no one else will. So I'm going to New Mexico. Wish me luck. And then we'll be back next Tuesday for you for Joe Wright. I love it. I love it. So enjoy this episode. It is myself, the fantastic producer and actor Ian Sharp, and our wonderful guests, Jed Shepherd and Gemma Hurley. Live from AFM, live in inverted commas. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. We are here with our next session titled How to Make Your Movie with the Filmmakers Podcast. It is my pleasure to introduce the hosts of the Filmmakers Podcast, Giles Alderson and Ian Sharp. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hey, Ian. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Very well. How are you?
Very good. Hello, everyone. We thought we'd introduce our guests straight away because they are fantastic. It is, of course, Jed Shepherd and Gemma Hurley. Hello.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is wonderfully bizarre, isn't it? This is AFM Live and we're chatting away to some lovely people out there. We're here to talk about how to make your film and from our experiences, how to do that. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's go around and do the normal introduction. Jed, let's start with you. Tell us about yourself, the films you've made, the stuff you do, so people know.
My name's Jed Shepherd. I am a writer, producer, director, probably best known for writing and EPing Host, directed by Rob Savage, the upcoming Blumhouse film Dashcam, which co-wrote and co-exec produced. Also, currently doing a live-action video game with all the girls from Host. That's called Ghosts, confusingly. It's called Ghosts, and that comes out in February. And some other stuff that hasn't been announced yet, but very cool.
Very cool indeed. Ian, let's come to you next.
So, hey guys. So, I am definitely a multiple hat wearer. So, started out as an actor. Still do every now and again when I'm lucky enough to. But also, I am a film producer and have financed some films as well. And for anyone's interested, I also randomly, if you're any actors out there, I own a talent agency here in the UK as well. So if you want any advice on that side of it, let me know.
Amazing. And Gemma?
Yes, I am a screenwriter. I co-wrote Host with Jed and Rob, and I also co-wrote Dashcam with these guys, which was amazing. But
EP on Dashcam too.
And I'm an EP on Dashcam, which is great. But yes, other than that, I'm a TV writer. Usually I do a lot of, I've been doing a lot of kind of staff writing on like some Netflix and BBC shows, and hopefully one that's going to be coming out on Amazon. So fingers crossed.
That is so exciting. I'm Giles Alderson. I run the Filmmakers podcast, which Ian hosts with me, and Jed and Gemma have been on. So if you want to hear more about them talking separately, then do go to thefilmmakerspodcast.com and put their names into the search bar, and you'll be able to listen to them talk some more. Yes, I am lucky enough to have directed 4 features, including The Dare, which was my debut movie, which was out on Netflix this weekend in Canada, and it got to number 3, which I was just over the moon about, which is just super fun. And thank you. A Serial Killer's Guide to Life I produced. I've just finished producing 3-Day Millionaire, and I'm in post on Wolves of War, my 4th directed movie. So that is a little bit about us. Like I said, we run the Filmmakers podcast, and we do like to talk about how to make films all the time. And myself and Ian thought it'd be great to get Jed and Gemma on, especially after the success of Host, and I imagine Dashcam too, but we can talk about maybe a little bit about that, or maybe not. We might keep it secret, but the fact is, I thought it'd be great for us to chat, and you guys can ask questions whenever you want. It's all there in the search bar. If you want to ask us a question, then do, and we'll get to it if and when we can. Right, let's start us off with ideas. Making movies is never easy. It's really hard. One of the hardest things is coming up with a great idea that other people want to run with. And what I mean by that is, it's all well and good to you say, hey, I've got this great idea, but if no one runs with you, unless you've got a load of money and you can sort stuff out yourself, it's not great. So you've got to pitch it. You've got to come with this great idea. So I thought, first of all, we could just talk about where we find ideas, where our inspiration comes from, and where we can inspire others to maybe get inspiration. Jed, you're nodding away. Let's start with you on that.
Well, a lot of my ideas just come from, people may know, I'm the biggest horror fan. Like, all I do is watch horror films all day, every day, consume horror media, horror news, books, comics, TV shows. That's all that's like all I really care about. Like, it's really sad, but all I care about is horror. So, and I have done since I was a little child. And I think I mentioned on your podcast, the reason why I'm so into horror is because my mum is very superstitious. She's into various different mythologies. And she's from the Philippines, and she instilled into me that monsters are real and ghosts are real, and you have to be careful of these creatures. So I spent my formative years researching these creatures and finding out how I can defeat them, because I knew at some point I'll meet a werewolf and I'll need to know how to defeat him. So I just watched every bit of horror media you can, just to protect myself. And because it was a life or death situation, it's just become like my DNA now. And so when I come up with ideas, a lot of them come from these childhood fears of having to meet these creatures and what I would do in that situation. A lot of my ideas, especially ones that you'll see, that unannounced ideas, unfortunately, but ideas that come out in the future, are ideas I've had for a long time. I also am a massive fan of the 14 Times. I don't know if anyone out there knows it, but it's a monthly magazine that collates all of the weird news from around the subscriber, and I have been generally since I was a kid. And every month I get this magazine with about 2,000 different story ideas in it from weird news around the world, and it's like, am I the only one who's looking at this? Because this is just such a great source of information.
Brilliant. What was it called again, Jed? Sorry, Jed. What was it called again?
The 14 Times. It's great. And if you go back to the back issues from the 70s and the 80s, the incredible stories there. Another massive place I get ideas from is Reddit. But don't go to the horror sections or the scary stories. Go to the weird stories about people's real life situations, because that's where you find the real gems, because true life is often stranger than than fiction. Yeah, just one more before passing to Gemma is I collect VHS, so usually like pre-certs VHS from pre-certs, mostly horror, and oftentimes those VHS have never been converted to DVD or streaming, so these are like lost stories out there, and I often think if someone just gave that a 21st century spin, it would really work. So that's where I get a lot of ideas from as well, like kind of forgotten films and forgotten ideas.
That's brilliant. 14 times sounds brilliant, especially when you're trying to come up with different ideas, because it's easy to get sort of fallen into the same trap of coming up with the same idea, or it's something similar, we've heard it before. And one thing that we really do have to do as filmmakers is be unique and be different and be, why else are you going to get noticed? That's why Host got noticed so well, because it was different, it was interesting, and I imagine Dashcam the same, and I think that's really important. So 14 times sounds great. Coco says, yeah, you're bound to meet a werewolf. I've met some a few times, which is, well, of course you have. So Gemma, same with you then. Ideas, where do we find these ideas for you? What happens?
Gosh, it really depends on the project. Like I don't just do horror, I do like fantasy and sci-fi and all kind of weird and anything that makes me feel wonder or dread is kind of where I like my sweet spot, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I think in terms of, yes, like, it's really difficult to come up with unique ideas. I think what I try to do is less necessarily about like a completely like, oh my God, I've never even considered this idea as a thing before. It's more about the execution and how I can bring something true and authentic to an idea, like something that touches on like a experience I have in a relationship, or that a weird surreal experience I had as a child, with like, there was something in my room that I always felt was like watching me, or like whatever it is, just something that, or I've heard from a friend or from like a podcast I've heard, something like that. Just try and create something that resonates with something in me that I'm trying to get out, I guess, like a feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally does. Getting a feeling out is one of the hardest things, isn't it? You have this sense of dread or sense of something or sense of adventure, but putting it down into an idea is really hard. Yeah, I love where people's ideas come from and why our brains work the way they do. Sometimes it could be from a dream, can't it? Or a memory, or someone says something in a club or a bar or football or whatever, and suddenly you go, oh, that triggered something, and you might write it down. You might not look at it again for ages, but then when you do, you go, oh God, yeah, that and that connects to that. And especially when you're stuck, I like to write a load of ideas down in a notebook and just have them there as ideas. So when I do get stuck, or a snippet of a line or something I liked, so that moment where you go, you can just go back and flick through and go, oh, that'll do for now to get me through. Because that's what it's about, right? When you get at that stage, when you're developing something or script writing it, for me, it's about finishing it. You know what I mean? Get it to a stage where it's ready to actually then start working on it. I don't know how you feel, Gemma, but is that similar?
Yeah, absolutely. But I was also going to say, like, I don't know if there is in the audience, but sometimes it can be, if you feel a bit like stuck and there's a sort of, blank page, I find it quite fun to sort of have a competition with yourself, a sort of like, you have 1 minute, come up with like, 5 ideas, and then like pick your favorite idea from that, and then like write a bit more, like so you don't judge yourself, I suppose, and just kind of like draft like all these weird and wacky things out and see what your kind of subconscious, I guess, is kind of pulling without you having to like get too academic or intellectual about it, but just kind of like feel the kind of creativity at that kind of early stage without judgment. I find quite useful.
Yeah, creativity. That's good. I like that idea of a little competition with yourself. I kind of do it with sweets sometimes, and I have to say I'm addicted to sweets sometimes. It's my thing, and I'll be like, don't have another one until you've done the next scene. Don't do it. And I'm not saying do that. I'm saying that sometimes works for me. It's that whatever it is to sort of get you through, to inspire you to do it.
That's exactly what I do. I have a reward system with myself, and it started off genuine. This is genuine. It started off saying that if I wrote 10 pages of a script or something, then that equals ice cream. But then it's down to about, if I do 2 pages, it's like, I deserve an ice cream. I deserve the best ice cream known to man. So I've eaten a lot of ice cream.
Because it is hard. Sometimes you're battling on your own, and that's why it's great you guys write together. I know, Gemma, you write on your own, but I much prefer writing as well as collaborating. But I much prefer writing on my own with other people. I enjoy the camaraderie, and I enjoy the way we talk and communicate and have fun between the idea. And if I get stuck, I'll just go, I'm stuck. What do you think? And they will then bat it back. And that's great. Well, Gemma, you've done both quite a lot. Talk us through how the benefits and cons of collaborations or not.
There are both. What I was going to say first of all is that like some of my favorite like memories from, I mean, obviously the lockdown year when we wrote Host together, those were some of my favorite memories. Like those 2 weeks when you, me and Rob, which kind of over Zoom kind of thing and pushing ideas and making each other laugh. It was just such a delightful joy. That's when it's like working 100% wonderfully, where everyone's kind of on the same page. We only had a certain amount of time to do it, and so there was no time to kind of second guess or to go down any rabbit holes. It's just like, this is fun and let's just do it, and no expectations. With Dashcam as well, it was just I was looking over some like screenshots I took the other day of us like mucking about when we were kind of coming up with the idea for it. And you just see where everyone's just like laughing. It's just such a joy. But then sometimes I've had other experiences where, sometimes it's really difficult. I've had lots of experiences in writers' rooms where sometimes it isn't like quite an easy experiences, but sometimes I've had wonderful experiences in writers' rooms. And I think in those, to compare, I suppose in those, it's not quite as collaborative because, there's a bit more of a hierarchy involved, and it depends on the makeup of the room, and if there's respect, and if people if everyone's kind of steering in the same direction, or whether they're pulling in different directions that can cause tension. It's a mixed beast, and I could talk about that for a very long time, but on my own. But yeah, it's what you were saying, Giles. Sometimes it can be a very lonely experience writing alone. You just want to be able to I don't know, just someone to like hold your hand and be like, yes, this is good, dear. It's okay. Keep going. You're in the quagmire right now, but it will get better. You just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Are you guys familiar with that wonderful graph where it's like, you start with an idea and it's, oh, this is the best thing ever. And then it's like, oh, this is okay. And it's like, oh God, this is horrible. And it's like, well, maybe it's not shit. And at the end, it's, that's like the last stage. It's like, this is okay now with writing alone. But yeah, I love working with other people. But sometimes I feel like, if you are writing alone, you can go to those sort of slightly more internal places and maybe do a little bit of more exploratory, places in a kind of safe space for yourself as well. So it just depends on the project.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jed, do you want to jump in on that as well?
Well, I think one of the main words I think about when I think about collaboration is compromise, especially with hosts, like, because me and Rob are so used to like doing stuff together. Host was the first time we brought someone else into the mix. So
is this something you need to say to me, Jed? Is this what
Is this it now? Is this the moment? AFM live.
Come on.
No, but it was good. And I would just think how hard it was for Gemma to come into this dynamic. Like, honestly, I can't even imagine how hard it was to come to this dynamic where you've got two pretty headstrong guys who think they know everything. And having to like drop into that but like Gemma like more than like lived up to our expectation, and yeah, it's just great. It was just really, really great. But like there is an element of compromise when it comes to collaboration, whereas if you are writing yourself, obviously you can just see your idea through to the end, for good or for bad, because sometimes you really do need someone to tell you your idea is terrible. This idea is terrible, but because no one's kind of like caught that yet, it's really only when you get notes off people then you go, oh, okay, I wish I heard that earlier, so I wouldn't waste 2 months of my life writing like Act 3. But yeah, like for me, there are pros and cons for both. But obviously, in the last two things, Dashcam and Host, it's been great, and like working with Gemma and Rob, it's been brilliant, and obviously it's proved very successful, and I can't think of any other way we would have done it. It's brilliant.
I really do love collaborating. I think, I don't know, I feel freer. I feel safer. I feel more alive. Sometimes when I can get lost in my own head when I'm writing, and I do enjoy that. Ian, from the producer standpoint, then, when you're working with writers, you're collaborating on an idea that's come to you, and you're developing that together, let's say, how does that relationship work then as the producer and then the writer relationship from your side?
I mean, I think you guys have already touched on collaboration. For me is everything. Like, I really struggle if it is, I mean, obviously this isn't from a writer's perspective, but as a producer, you know, you're trying to create something almost from nothing. You know, you're trying to generate work as well, and it can be very overwhelming, particularly in lockdown when you're not seeing anyone else. You know, I mean, I literally travel from my office, which is, you know, in my house, to downstairs to the kitchen. That's my life. You know,
sure.
And I'm trying to produce movies and run businesses and stuff. It's very overwhelming. So I have to allow myself like a 10-minute, 15-minute dog walk or whatever, just to give myself some, I don't know, like fresh air. But again, I that's the bit I really enjoy the most. Like, for me, is that creative collaboration kind of process. Like, yesterday, you know, without sounding like maybe I won't tell that story, but you know, I can. I was very
go on.
It's not to show off it, but it was an idea that was just, we just weren't getting any momentum, and then God willing, you know, we got a really, you know, an A-list star. We got the script to him, and he just said, yeah, I'm very interested, but he gave all these notes, and bear in mind, we've been round and round and round the houses with it, and literally just speaking to this actor of such, you know, caliber, and he just had these most amazing notes, and it's just reignited and rejuvenated the whole project and script, and that for me was just like, wow, all those years of kind of obscurity with that, it's worth it. So you know, again, yeah, collaboration is kind of, you literally cannot do it alone anyway. So and just with this film at the moment, you know, it's a studio movie, and I would really struggle if I didn't have colleagues, a producing partner with me, because there are so many times I go, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the answer to this question, you know. So having those other people around you to kind of bounce ideas off, or to help do the work with you and delegate, it's everything, you know, it's everything.
First of all, massive congratulations, Ian. That sounds amazing. I know how hard you've been working on that project. But also, I think what's really interesting to hear there is the fact that you're okay to say, I don't know. And it's something I think a lot of filmmakers are scared of doing from the off, scared of sort of saying, actually, I don't know. I'm holding my hands up. I've not done this before. I think we've all been in a position in the past where there's so much BS in this industry where people do say, yeah, I can do that for you. And yeah, I'll find the money, and yeah, I'll do this. And when we're first starting out, we don't realize that it's just absolute BS. And it would have been so much better for me, and I'm sure you guys, when we were starting out, if someone just went, yeah, I might be able to get you the money. I'll do my best. Do you know what? I've never done this before. I'd respect that so much more, and I trust that so much more. And isn't it interesting how in our industry, it feels like anyone can just say that at any point, but it doesn't help the situation.
Yeah, I think you need to come to everything in this game with humility, you know, because you'll get found out. You know, because every movie that you're involved in, our television project or whatever, it's always different. So you're not going to have the answers to every single scenario. So, you know, don't get stuck, you know, have the confidence in yourself to go, well, I don't know it now, but I'll learn, you know. If anything, with this project, I normally produce with my wife. I genuinely said, I'm like, you know what, I want this project to come with all kinds of problems now, because I'm only going to learn as a producer if I go through those problems, you know. So it kind of embrace it, but then allow yourself, like we've kind of touched on, go for a walk, get some fresh air, see some friends, you know, like, 'cause you'll need that too.
Well, let's keep going on the collaboration side, because that's the next sort of topic I wanted to talk about, in terms of, first of all, where the idea, and then where you get that idea to someone influential. Where do you take it? How do you make your film happen, you know, as opposed to what we're talking about? And it's where you take it. Do you know what I mean? You've got friends, obviously, by now, and hopefully in the industry you know people. But if you don't when you're first starting out, and even now, where do you take it? You know, do you be careful? Do you just send it to one group? Do you send it to others? And I think it's a really tough place to be when we first come up with an idea that maybe we haven't shared with too many people yet. I just wanted to touch on that as a thing. Where do we go? Who do you share it with your besties first? Do you go out to your Netflix contact first? I just wanted to start there.
This is a very big subject.
Indeed.
And I think it's geographical as well. I think in the UK, and Giles, we've spoken about this before in other places, but I think in the UK it's very hard if you're a horror filmmaker, which myself and Gemma is, to get things made. And Giles, of course, you know, and Ian, obviously, it's very hard because even though a lot of people love it here, it feels like it's not considered prestige, or the places that hold the purse strings to funding your project. If it's horror, for some reason, they will shy away from it because maybe they want to present what they do as art. They don't want to make things for the general public. And when inside those purse strings, inside the purse is public money, it blows my mind that it's not giving to projects that would benefit the general public. For me personally, if I have a great idea, if I want to put it out there, I would go to places outside of the UK initially, because I have representation, I have a manager. I would take it to my manager, who, that's the easiest thing to do, because then he can use his contacts. But before that, genuinely, it was so hard to get things made. To even get shorts made, it was so hard. Like when me and Rob made Dawn of the Deaf, we tried to ship it around as a feature first, but no one would give us even a penny. So we decided to make it as a short. So we thought, okay, we'll go to the various different places in the UK to get money to make this. We probably could do it for like 10 grand or less, and no one would give us any money. So we just had to like pay for it ourselves, beg, borrow, steal, and we made it. And it got into Sundance. It got into 150 festivals, won everything at all festivals. And then I thought, now everyone's going to be falling over themselves to give us money. Nope, that wasn't the case, because we were still doing horror. So it's really difficult now. Like in a post-host world, it's become, I think, a lot easier. Post-host, I can't quite like that. In a post-host world, it is a lot easier because you are a recognized person and you have something that's already kind of done well. So the people that weren't really up for giving you money or even having meetings with you, now they're the ones trying to instigate these meetings. And I get it. They people want security in their job. They don't want to do anything that's potentially risky. They're risk adverse. Fair enough. So they will only go for things that are either sure things or their bets are hedged enough by co-productions or whatever. But yeah, in a nutshell, I would go to the American companies because America holds horror in a higher regard than over here. So there's plenty of production companies and studios in America that just want unique, high concept horror. They're just dying for it. So that's where I would go first. And it is very hard if you don't have representation, to be quite honest, to get in those doors. But once you do, then those places are up for grabs.
That's fascinating. And it's really interesting. We talked about this, like you said, Jed, about the whole UK and genre films, and especially horror. And it is one reason why I wanted to make the Dare American, in terms of them sound American, even though it's all English actors pretty much. I just felt that was the market that I could tap into for me that would be better. And that was my mindset, because I believe people didn't want necessarily to make horrors in this country. Of course we do. But you're right, Jed, it sometimes is looked down upon. I'm not saying always, and there's some people who love it and it does rise, but it does happen. And Gemma, for you, who do you go to first when you've got an idea? Where do you want to take that? If you've shaped it into some, say it's a screenplay been working on by yourself for a year and you've got it into some shape, where would you go? Where would you want to take that first?
So I guess I suppose we're talking about film, not TV, just to kind of clarify.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I'm also kind of clarifying for the audience. Like, I was wondering how many people here are writers with agents and without, because as Jed you've already touched on it, it's such a different kind of proposition.
Very different, yeah.
Talking about after you have an agent, yes, everything gets easier, but you also still have to kind of knock on your own doors and bang your own drum and make your own opportunities. It doesn't really just all suddenly magically happen like I imagined it would do. You really do have to just, keep hustling and, try and have like, I've got like a spreadsheet from when I first started with my agent. And every time I had a meeting with someone, I like wrote it down, and I've got like, 150 individual meetings I've had with different people, and I keep adding to it kind of like see, get some kind of statistics, because it is like a little bit of a war of attrition. I feel like, after, you have 10 meetings and maybe one of them goes well, and then maybe like you have 100 meetings and then like 10 of those went really well. It's a numbers game, and it's like, don't feel discouraged. It takes time to build relationships over time, where people, you build up trust with people, you build up, I remember that person and what they do, and trying to, have something about you or your work that resonated. But to your question, these days, I've mainly been working on film with these guys, obviously, but I think for a film, whether or not I'd write it on spec now would be a kind of question, because it is such a big undertaking. It's such a do I want to give up, unpaid, risky, 6 months of my life working on this project?
Yeah, if not more, yeah.
And then I might not sell it at the end. Or, what I would love to do is be able to find a collaborator. I'd go, through to one of my relationships with a producer and be like, what do you think of this? Do you want to option here? And you can give me money to develop it. But in the UK, obviously in America, it's very different. There isn't much development funding for speculative film scripts, so it's a bit of a tricky thing. So it's a weird one. If you've already got the script, great.
It's really interesting that, and how difficult it is if you haven't got an agent and you're a screenwriter, how you get your projects out there. I don't know about you, Jed, Ian, and Gemma, yourself as well. You constantly get emails from new writers. Could you look at this? Could you look at this? And there's a certain etiquette, I believe, in how you should write those emails. And for me, it's always, you have to have at least seen something we've done and put that first. That's the most important thing. Get our attention, right? Ian, you talk about this quite a lot, but it is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, there has to be some kind of connection. Then if it's just cold, it's just not good. You're not going to get the time. You're sabotaging yourself, because, again, what the guys have touched upon, this is a relationship business, as well. And trust plays a big part of that. So, obviously I can talk about, what would get, say, for example, a producer's attention if you, Please. I don't know, if you have an agent or you don't have an agent. But one thing I always advise on is, most producers, and particularly producers that you want to have a relationship with, right? They're going to be very busy. So for me, less is more. So if someone's sending me a script, I'm not going to read it. It's just, and I struggle to read our own projects, the drafts, because it's 2 or 3, 4 hours of your day. So what I would advise is always just get a killer treatment, and then if the producer comes back to you wanting more, then by all means you're in. But forming those relationships, and what Gemma's touched on there, which a lot of people actually don't do, is she logged all those names, and that's exactly what I did over 10 odd years. Is just it's a long game, it really is, this industry. So finally, there's a great day. I should get commission on this, but it's called Insightly, right? And it just, you can just put someone's email address, you can put tags on it, whatever, and you can just file who you're talking to, because you never know who that person's going to be, in 10 years time or whatever. But sorry, Giles, I'm ranting, mate. Was there a particular thing you wanted me to talk about?
No, that was beautiful. It was really interesting.
Useful, yeah?
Very, always, Ian. Whenever you speak, it's useful. I have to stop the podcast a second, because I have something massive to tell our listeners. Filmmakers listening right now. When you are dealing with 4 to 8K footage, you're dealing with massive files. And massive files call for massive. Massive, spelt M-A-S-V. It's the file sharing solution for the modern filmmaker and post-professional. We mentioned at the start of the show how you could receive 100 gigabytes for free. towards your next transfer. And how to do that is you simply create an account at massive.io/filmmakerspod. And you can quickly transfer terabytes of data over the cloud. And what's special about this is Massive's pay-as-you-go model means you only pay for what you need. And there are virtually no limits to the size of file you can share. You can send uncompressed video to teams around the world, to your exec producers, to your editor, wherever they are. And you can speed up your production cycle. So, if you sign up today at massive.io/filmmakerspod, you can get 100 gigabytes free towards your transfer. Now back to the other massive thing in your life, the show. I suppose we were talking about where you go to with your projects, but I suppose we jump with you and say, hey, you've got a script now, it's been brought to you, you're now that producer with it in your hands. Who do you first go to?
Yeah, so I have maybe a small handful of relationships with say the Netflixes or the traditional buyers. So sometimes it really depends on that level of relationship, like, because they're probably not going to read that project 2 or 3 times, right? So I might softly kind of pitch the idea. Again, this is where treatment, guys, makes such a difference. So we are definitely unique as a production company. We do finance all our own development internally, and that's my own resources. So I take that really serious, because I would never take on a project and not give you money. It's just not right. So writers out there, don't let people take advantage of you. That's all I'm saying.
To you, Ian.
Yeah, no, I mean,
everyone on here is coming to you.
I know, I get it. But you've got to have skin in the game, and whether it's sweat equity, but there's got to be a commitment either way. So I'm incentivized if I'm putting money behind it, right? And I respect how hard it is as a writer. I get it. It's incredibly difficult, and without you guys, I wouldn't have a job. So that's just my little 50 pence worth there, or $1 worth, whatever. So anyway, so sorry.
I'll give you $1 for your script.
Yeah.
That's what
I'll buy that for $1. So anyway, I will go out there, and depending on the story, the genre, the talent, I will then cater where I will go to. So if it is a horror, like for example, this movie I'm making at the moment with Hulu, it's a horror. It's a natural fit. But if it's an Audrey Hepburn biopic, maybe I could go to Hulu, but probably I'm going to go to an Amazon or a Netflix or a Focus or whoever. So I will be strategic and place myself there. But I'm not afraid to go out and like I say, send an idea or treatment. And Jed touched on it. Once you get that kind of foot in the door, that track record, people are willing to then maybe give you, an email response, or, I don't mind them saying to me, it's not for us, and that's fine, nothing personal. Great, I'll just move on to someone else. So, yes, but persistence.
And when you do send those emails to, I know it's probably people but let's say it was a cold one to Prime or whoever, we were talking about making sure that's personal. It's a relationship business, right? You said it. So therefore, we're saying when we're going to email someone, or someone's emailing us and saying, hey, read my script, that should be the last thing. And by the way, would you mind looking at my script or treatment or whatever? What do you do the same thing then? And I know I do when I'm producing and sending stuff out. Do you do the same things? You target your Netflixes and your Hulus by saying, hey, by the way, just saw that last night. Great. I'm just really interested to have that, what you do there as well.
To be honest, it's very rare now that I'll go to a company that I won't have some form of connection to. And that's not because I'll know them personally. I will ask Jed. I'll ask you, Giles. I'll ask Gemma. I'll find a way of getting some kind of soft introduction. But if not, exactly, I think it does help when you've got maybe a body of work behind you that you can highlight that in the subject header or in the emails. And it kind of, I hate to say validates you, but it kind of de-risks you or whatever. They might give you a little bit of time. That's not to say everyone responds, because they really, really don't. But yeah, that's kind of what I'll do. But yes, when I'm doing a soft email, a cold email out there, sorry, I'm not straight away the first email, I'm looking for finance. Like it doesn't work like that. I'll try and go to events like this, whether online or personal, and just try and get that connection, knowing full well that in a year's time I might be able to go direct to them. Do you know what I mean? So it's very few and far between I'll do a cold email, if I'm being totally honest now.
Yeah, it does make a difference once you've had a few films out. It does. I know it's still not easy. You're now batting in the higher. You're now hitting up here, whereas before you were trying to grab whatever you could. It's still hard. It's still really hard, but you're right. You do have a little in. It's like, actually, I've been through the trenches too. I've done this too. We've written this too. And that can make a big difference. But again, I think you've got to be very careful with your emails, and very, really important not to just be read me or look at my project. It's so important.
Yeah, LinkedIn, guys. LinkedIn is the worst for that. So just don't be that guy. Just sending cold LinkedIn messages. I'm just never going to read it. I'm sure most people
Never
don't.
had it. Never had LinkedIn.
Don't do it.
No,
it's such a waste. Don't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the other thing about building relationships, like a lot of writers do generals with studios and production companies and stuff, and the generals are there to not pitch anything, but just to establish that relationship, introduce yourself, and you're not selling a project, you're selling yourself. So as long as you kind of get on with that person, you can keep that relationship going forever. And a few months, a few years down the line, it could be like, oh, I've actually got something that would suit you perfectly. And because you have an organic, natural relationship, which isn't built on you begging them for some money, then they will feel more inclined to work with you, because working with someone in a film is an time investment. It's a mental space investment. Build a relationship with and know that they're going to be legit on set. And because the worst thing to do is agree to do a project with someone, and then first day on set you come to the realization, oh, this person's a nightmare. So like having this strong relationship that you've built over time is so important.
It's the familiarity, and I think the theme of relationships keeps coming up, and it is a little bit like dating. You do sometimes get those like cold emails where it's like, read my script and make this, and it's like the equivalent of like if you're dating, it's like, do you want to marry me? Like straight up, it's like, whoa, dude. It does feel like that. And just remembering that, like, I think, apologies, I don't know what the demographic of this group is, but if we're talking about people who don't have an agent yet, I remember when I was first starting out, like I really did think it was all about the Silver Bullet project, and like, how can I get this Silver Bullet project that I've spent like 3 years of my life writing between my like real, like my full-time job, it means so much to me. How can I get this? How's this gonna make me? And inevitably, like, I still haven't got that project made. It wasn't about that project. It was about, how can I start forming those relationships of people that in like 5 years time are gonna, I will make something else with them. Like, the only reason I ended up doing host was because I had a random coffee with Rob, because someone else recommended me to Rob. It's just, you cannot predict what route you're going to take in, and you have to try lots of different things. Like, I've done like writing speculative scripts, I've done sending scripts to film festivals, I've done collaborating, I've tried so many different ways in, and done the cold email things, done the, you have to like, just see it as like, this is a war and it's going to take time, but like, along the way I'll make some friends and we're going to go into battle, I guess. I don't know, maybe it shouldn't be so combative a metaphor, but like, it really is about like, who is going to be my like Fellowship of the Rings on the way, I guess, and finding those people. And you just don't know who they're going to be, but it's not about, this is my secret project that is thing.
To Mordor for some reason.
We're going to Mordor. This is right. It's Mordor in this.
However we get there, right? However we get there, because it is so hard doing it. Trying to make a movie is really hard, and you're right, it is going to battle. It is, because you've really got to have your head screwed on in every single level of the way. As Ian said there, and Jed, you don't want to get screwed over, and when we're starting out, it can happen, and you've really got to understand the business, and it is a business, and we're learning all the time, aren't we, Ian, about this as a business. And it's, you can make the worst film in the world, but if it sells everywhere, makes loads of money, you now can make another movie. And that's kind of crazy, but it's something we talked about, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important, guys, to just have a very basic understanding of everything in this industry, just so you can at least be in the conversation, because you're right. You can make a movie and it can be seen everywhere, and you think, well, I've not been paid a single penny for it. So you need to arm yourself with experience. And again, that's another thing about building your allies. You can refer to someone like us, or whoever, wherever, what level you're at. It doesn't matter if they've not made a movie, but they've maybe made a short or something, and they're getting it onto a short film platform. Surround yourself with allies, because it's a money making industry, right? It's commerce. It's
called business for a reason, isn't it? The film business. It's not the film pleasure, sadly. But yeah, I think it is really important to do that. Hold a boom for your mate's film, act in a thing. If you want to be a director, learn to act, learn to edit. It's all these little things that is so important that you can actually do. You know what the actor's going through. You know what the editor needs for the shot. I think things like that. And again, apologies if we're teaching you, how to suck eggs here. There might be loads of experienced people here. Apologies, and I hope it's still interesting for you. I want to touch back on the treatment side of things a little bit, because we touched on it and said, hey, don't spend time writing a script necessarily on spec. Why not just write a logline or a pitch or a treatment? How would you present that, to your producing partners, someone you've just met down the pub, someone you met at AFM? How would you present that?
I make treatments all the time,
and they full on with designs and images, or are they just kind of log lines or mixture?
I remember when I first started making treatments, I was told just keep it simple, just put words on a page. But then I realized that is not really the best way to present these things, especially with genre stuff, with horror stuff. You want visuals, you want to see monsters, you want to see this world. So if you see any of the pitch decks, treatments that I do, it often comes with a whole bunch of images from various different comps, and it's presented in a way where by the time you finish reading this, and it may be 5 pages, it may be 12 pages, 20 pages, by the time you finish reading it, you will want to make this or else, basically, or you think you are not doing your job properly, and you just got to make it exciting. Because if the project's exciting for you, and you manage to put that onto the page, then the person reading it might buy into that excitement too. So I've made loads of them, and it's the best way, I think, to get it across, because it's a big commitment for someone to read a script. So if you're writing something on spec, I think it's very hard to convince someone to read a whole script. And if they do, maybe they'll read only the first 20 pages, which a lot of companies do. Maybe the first 40 if you're lucky. Some, they only read the first 10 pages. So I think the easiest way to cut all that out is just do a treatment or a pitch deck. Even a one-pager is just to kind of get your foot in the door and say, hey, can we have a meeting about this?
Human relationships are so important. It's like Jed mentioned about his treatment and saying by the end of them reading this, 12, 15, 30 page treatment, they should want to do this movie. And imagine if that enthusiasm was in the room. So for me, it's all about getting in the room. If you can portray something that says to me as the producer, hey, I want to meet this guy or girl, they're writing, that's really exciting. They seem exciting, and their enthusiasm then rubs off on me. I know that's how The Dare came about, because I went and pitched to the exec, and I really went for it, and it became a studio movie because of it, and I know that it was from my enthusiasm. I totally know that it was from me believing in this project, and I think you have to. I think you can't go into anything half-assed. You've really got to believe in what you're making. But I suppose it is about how lengthy these treatments are, and I suppose it's just different for each one, how much effort and time you want to put into it. But it's like you said, Gemma, should you spend 6 months to a year, if not longer, writing a feature, or spend maybe 3 weeks, a month developing a really cool idea with images?
I would touch on that. I appreciate, sometimes I hate treatments. I hate them so much. It's I didn't want to become a writer to write a sales document, which is essentially what treatments are.
Yeah, or using other people's work as well. Often images from other people's films.
Yeah, and it's a very different thing. And luckily I before I was a writer, one of my full-time jobs was working in a marketing, sales job, so I understood a little bit about how it works, but it is a little bit soul destroying. If you happen to be in a phase where you're writing treatment after treatment after treatment, and you're not finding that time to write, it really is about finding that balance. Yes, I do obviously love writing more, but it just takes so longer. And, you can't take all those risks of doing another feature film speculatively without any kind of sense of there might be someone to catch you at the other end and might pay for it. It's hard. It's a real risk.
I mean, for us, for our perspective, you know, you can come to us with just because I appreciate it can be quite daunting, particularly if you're a writer, you know, to then think, well, I have to be a graphic designer now and I need to do all this. It can be a bit overwhelming there. And there are experts that really do specialize in that. So, you know, maybe if you are reaching out to production companies, just one page with just maybe I'm not even bothered of a log line. I just want to know what the film is going to be. You know, what's the kind of like core of the movie, and then let me come to you, and then we'll go out there and we'll develop that killer treatment. I know maybe I said that. I'll specifically go out there to an expert. It's funny actually. We got one script that we've attached an actor to of note, and he actually said, "Look, the outline synopsis treatment was better than the script. Like the script doesn't deliver on what, but the concept is so good. Can we now work on the script again?" And we're like, "Well, yeah, of course. If you'll do it, then 100%." So you just never know. So don't be daunted by that, guys. I mean, like, Jed is an incredible filmmaker and obviously got all these amazing ideas. He probably can create all these images and stuff like that as well. But I mean, I know I couldn't. Like literally, I wouldn't have a clue. But yeah, but please don't be afraid.
I think you've got to do whatever you can to get through the door. It's what we say. Get through the door. Get that meeting. We got questions. We'll start doing these and we'll come back to what we're talking about and in a minute. But first of all, a couple of questions. And exactly what I talked about here is from Catherine Hayes. She asks, any top tips to initiate a general meeting? I suppose it's kind of what we've been talking about really, but what the top tips are, you know, make sure you're prepared and you've got everything there and you're not just writing, hey, read my script. Anything else? Anyone else want to jump in on that?
Well, it's not really how to get it. It's more what you do when you do get it. Research that company, research the person you're about to speak to, check out what films they've done before, research the company, because the one thing that may help you is, especially if you've got IMDb Pro, go look at that production company, that studio, see what they've got in the pipeline so you can see a general trend of where they're heading to. And then in the meeting, you can gear what you're saying towards them. And also don't be afraid to ask them the kind of things they're looking for as well, because maybe they're looking for a movie about witches. Witches is hot right now. And then you can go, well, I've got this idea about for a witch movie. And yeah, and also speak to your friends, like other writers who've had generals with that company as well. Yeah, just research. I made the mistake once, and I'll never do it again. I was speaking to this production company, and I was just, it's probably like the fifth one I had that particular day, and I was just like kind of tired, and I was just giving my normal spiel, and I'm usually very, very upbeat in these meetings, but I was just really tired that day, so I wasn't giving it my 100%. And they were saying, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Like Darren would be really into that. And I was like, am I meant to know who Darren is? And then they kept going on and on and on. And I was like, I'll Google this company I was speaking to. Oh, it's Darren Aronofsky's company. And they're saying Darren Aronofsky might be interested in this idea. And then I just switched on and I was like, okay, cool, right. So this idea. But I could have saved myself like a lot of trouble and probably actually nailed that, whatever that was, if I did a little bit of research up front. So yeah, so don't be me. Like, do your research.
There we go. Top tip, Gemma. Any top tips from you? For means?
Yes, just to echoing sort of what we were saying earlier. I think I've heard, you know, people talk about the elevator pitch a lot, which sounds to me like if I was on the receiving end of that, it sounds like hell. It sounds like, I don't know why people say that, like, that's what people want to hear, how people want to hear ideas. Like, you've just been kind of attacked, you know, and kind of like forced us into
trying to get out of this elevator.
From someone you don't know. It's horrible. We're human beings. And like, in the same way that, yes, of course, you're there because you want them to, you know, you're hoping there'll be a good outcome where they'll buy something from your, you know, or from the conversation. But really, it's also a two-way thing. And I don't mean this is in a sort of arrogant way if you're talking to like Paramount. Like, I mean, like, do you want to work with them? Like, is the person you're talking to, how can you find a connection? Like, do you have anything in common? Like, what do they like? Why do they like film? Or, you know, do you have anything in common other than like trying to sell them something, like as a human being sitting across from you? Yes. And I guess the sort of other thing is like, remember that, you know, if you are just starting out, like they might not want to make your project, but they might have read your script and be like, oh, this is a fantastic writer. I'm not going to buy that thing, but they'd be great for this other thing that they don't know about, like whether it's an adaptation or they, you know, or they'll remember you in like 3 years' time if you kind of keep that relationship fresh and keep like saying, you're sending them ideas through, as you know, it's all about that kind of thing. So just be a person. And I know it's like, you know, scary at first, but really like after you've had a few, you know, it gets demystified. So just human beings.
Beautiful, Gemma. It's so true. I totally agree. Be a human being. And it makes sense. Don't try and be something. Research them. If they like football, great. And you like football, talk about football for a bit, you know? It's really important that you connect because, like Gemma says, they might not want you for this project. They might not want your film here, but they might like you. And that's what it's about. It's forging those relationships for the next step. And we got a question here from Laurie D. Whitman. I thought would be interesting for us to ask. If you had one person to reach out to for help with the next step in producing a feature, who should it be? A lawyer, another producer, or hire a mentor?
I mean, I wouldn't hire a mentor. I'd try and
find a
mentor. Yeah, I've not heard that one before. But yes, a mentor is... I can only speak for myself, was an absolute game changer for me. And I can definitely share my tips on how I did that. Again, it's about researching who they are. And for example, like I would go to maybe a film market and that person would be doing a presentation, or I'd listen to a podcast or whatnot. And now I would go out my way to write to that person on a personal level, maybe a handwritten note, or if they said, like what Jed mentioned there, I'm a huge football fan. If they mention, oh, they're an Arsenal fan or something, I'd probably send them a little, I'd send like a note, you know, just saying, you know, I appreciate the time. And I'd send them a little like book on an Arsenal or something. At the same time, I value someone's time. So, and that's a small token. I don't write a big lengthy message. It's just a little note saying just a small token of my appreciation. And then hopefully that person responds, because I'll always leave my email address. And then you've kind of got an in. So maybe in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, when you've got that treatment ready, you maybe can then, you know, send it over. So, but yes, mentors. And you can have, and again, it doesn't have to be someone that's made 50 movies. It could be someone that's literally made one short film. You know, they're just a few months ahead of you. So don't get bogged down by that. And then when you make that short film, go and find someone that's made a feature and then made a feature, 3 features, whatever. I haven't made film budgets, you know, above like 30, 40, 50 million or whatever. Like, I don't want to F it up. So I'm going to find everyone who's made those kind of movies and get as much advice as I can. So don't be afraid.
And what's great about this business is we do help each other. I feel that way. Certainly when I first started, I didn't feel that way. And maybe it's doing the Filmmakers podcast. Maybe it's just being open about budgets and open about what we're trying to do, that it's made everything a lot easier. I don't know why, but yeah, when I first started, it was this closed industry and it was really hard to get in and it was really difficult to knock down those doors. And I think people seem to be open. And if you can talk to someone at an event, like Ian says, go to these events, go to networking parties. Now it's opening up a little bit. If you can go and you feel like you should go, then yes, you can talk to these people. AFMs is a perfect time. They've all got little characters, everyone. You know what they do. You can click on them now and say, hey, it's a really easy chance to communicate and talk to people, whereas in the past it has been a lot harder because no one's got a sticker on them saying what job they do. So it has been harder. Now it's easier for you to do that. I think for me to answer that question, lawyers so important. What I've just been through now, literally just wrapped a movie 3 weeks ago. And, you know, I was talking to my lawyer all the time on that movie, and it's shares at the moment and it's investors and financiers, stuff that I never wanted to do as a creative and a producer, director, and a writer. And suddenly now I'm doing all that side, you know, it's hugely important, the film business, to understand it. And it's insanely tough. So mine would be lawyer right now. But I think normally if my new project now, I'd probably find that producer I wanted to work with on it. Yeah, I suppose let's talk about the success of Host and what happened afterwards, because I think that's a really important step for filmmakers. We make a film and we get to that point which is real in everyone's life. Everyone thinks something's going to happen. And realistically, what happens is your film comes out. and no one necessarily rings, you've got to still be the one ringing. You've still got to be the one knocking on the door. And you look at the success of Host, and then you signed the 3-picture deal with Blumhouse. Let's just talk a little bit about that and your expectations and what happened and how you dealt with it. And would you have dealt with something differently?
Well, obviously it was extremely unexpected because, again, we made it for very little money and very little time with our friends. And so we had no expectations for it. So it was news to us when it blew up. So we really weren't prepared for it. And I'm still processing it in my mind. Like, what happened? Like, what's going on? How do we replicate this formula? So, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Host has now been voted the scariest movie of all time. It's in all of the top lists, and Empire's
amazing.
One of the greatest horror films of all time as well. It's up there with The Shining. It's
nuts.
It's insane, and like it's really hard. Like, being, obviously, you know how much I'm into horror. Just thinking of myself as a little kid, trying to think of these horror ideas, and like it's insane just to think that, wow, we made the scariest movie of all time. It's just so hard to comprehend. But there's a little part of me that kind of knew it would happen. I was just like this has to be for something. Like, watching horror films 24/7 since I was like 5 has to be for a reason. So maybe this is a reason, I don't know. But yeah, and just very quickly before Gemma speaks, it has made things a lot easier, I would say. And it's very, very hard to explain to other people, like, okay, you just have to do this and then it equals this. Because I'm not sure if there is going to ever be another Host. Like, it's like a once a decade a kind of film comes along that kind of captures the zeitgeist like that. Will we ever do it again? I'm not sure. Hopefully Dashcam is something like that, but who knows? I mean,
echo everything you just said. You know, no expectations. Yeah, it's been really nuts, and it has opened some doors, and in some ways it hasn't. In some ways things are just the same because we're still sort of just in our bedrooms on Zoom, you know. I mean, I was thinking about this. We started working on Dashcam, like Host came out like beginning of August, let's say, you know, on Shudder. And we started coming up with Dashcam at the end of August. So like a month later, I think. There was no space between those two projects. It was really just like go.
Wow.
And, you know, it'd be really interesting to hear from Rob, the director and co-writer, and Doug, the producer, about what that was like. But really just trying to, like, you know, just go with that zeitgeist and go with that, you know, you feel like you can't miss that opportunity. Oh my God, like you have to just go for it. It's quite it's a beast, I guess, while you're still kind of wrapping your head around it all and realizing, oh, people are going to see this film now. And in the previous film, I didn't think people were going to see it. And it really does change things in a subtle way. But yeah, I mean, once Dashcam's out, like, it'd be great to have another chat about it. But yeah, it's just been, I'm still processing it. Honestly, I really can't give you a straight answer at the moment.
I remember the week after Host came out and we started to see it become what it eventually was. Me and Rob just went to this local cafe, like, because me and Rob, we lived on the same road up until very recently. We went to our local cafe, which we always do, and we just sat there in like almost disbelief, like, what's just happened? What's happened? Because obviously we've got a movie with Studio Canal coming up and a movie with Sam Raimi. Rob's just announced his Stephen King movie, but it was this little movie we made with our friends really quickly. That's kind of the thing that's kind of just propelled us. I mean, just like, what?
And you can't plan for that kind of stuff. We were just like the fortunate bloody bastards who got there, you know, like, you cannot plan that. Like, you know, it's literally once in a lifetime thing. Like, you know, if we're lucky, you know, we'll do it again, but like, freaking hell.
It's awesome. And it's so lovely. And what's so nice is you're still in that bubble. It's still there. It's not like, oh, that was 10 years. It's now. You're living it. You're part of this. You're still Dashcam. It's coming because the guys behind Host made you know what I mean? It's all that, and that's lovely. And the fact that you guys working together again, keeping that team, is something we talked about right at the start of this, was who your collaborators are, who you work with. Those people are so important. And it is. And look what you guys are doing. And it's fascinating. Well done. So we've got 3 minutes. Let's whip through these questions. Mr. Sharp spoke about the idea of a killer treatment. This is from David Olivier Pinheiro. What does a killer treatment mean? Oh, gosh, you'll have to be quick. That's the long one, isn't it?
Again, just something that gets past my amygdala, just makes me instantly go, right, I want to, I don't know, pursue this a little bit further, like an email or whatever, a concept. Doesn't have to be all bells and whistles. It could just be a log line, just something that just personally grabs me. That's what I say when I say killer treatment.
Great. This is from Kelly Thompson. Gemma, I'd be curious as to your process for script writing, outline, notes, cards, timeline. You can go listen to the podcast, the Filmmakers podcast, where Gemma does her own episode.
It's a great answer, Giles.
It is 224, but write her name in anywhere in your podcast and you will find that. She goes in deep about her process. It's brilliant. From Russell Palmer, what tools or processes do people use to help them with their writing, e.g. a hire pro, ghostwriter or student intern, any apps, online tools, forums, writing on Reddit, etc. when #writer's block? So I suppose it's tools to help them with their writing.
Every single thing I ever write starts on the Notes app, on my phone, on my computer, 100%. And you don't need fancy software. I mean, Final Draft is standard and it is good. It does help you out a lot. But we wrote hosts on Google Docs, didn't we, Jem? Like, we wrote on Google Docs.
Don't tell anyone. That's amazing. But why not? He got it done, right? I suppose it's trying. I think there's 4 questions in one, but maybe just to say, when you have writer's block, where do you go for that inspiration? Is there somewhere you go for? I suppose we touched on it earlier with the Reddit examples or something, but is there anything that unlocks your mind?
Just scribble without judgment. Just vomit out. Just get out of your head and connect with your heart.
Love that. Yeah, so true. Ian, this is from Kelly Thompson again. They're all from Kelly. Oh, great. No, 2 are. We've got one. Anthony Solomon as well. Hi, Ian. When you talk about paying a writer, what are the fundamentals for a writer to consider? And what is unreasonable related to compensation? It's your own fault.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I mean, obviously, probably predominantly a lot of you guys are based in the US, right? So you'll have a union gig and a non-union gig. Union gig, there's a standard rate. Non-union, whatever, really, you figure it out. But I guess that's relatable to the UK, okay? So you will go, right, I have a rough idea now of what maybe a certain level of writer will be getting paid. And then, I will then give, say, maybe 10, 20% of what that writer's fee will be in maybe for a treatment. So yeah, that's kind of how I work it out. It's not too difficult, but again, I'll always pay for sure.
Love it. Question. It's not really a question. It's a statement, really, from Jeff Deverett. Said having a successful indie film involves knowing how to distribute and release it, not just produce it. Filmmakers need to understand audience and marketing. 100% true. We didn't even touch really on that side of it, but I suppose you look at hosts and how brilliant they've done with their audience and the marketing behind that movie, and it's very simple. Like Jed said, there was hardly any. Right? There was none. Right? But it worked.
There's nothing.
But it worked.
There's no trailer before the film came out.
But what it did do was have word of mouth. And word of mouth was so huge for that film. And maybe if there was a trailer and a poster, you don't know, do you, how it would have gone? But anyway, I think that's really interesting. The countdown time has finished. I think we're going to wrap it up very soon. Thank you so much for joining us on this panel, all of you wonderful listeners who've been sat so patiently down below. I believe we're going to another room now. But if you do like this, you like what we talk about, we do this all the time on the Filmmakers podcast. Come join us. Thank these 2 wonderful people, Jed and Gemma, and go follow them on their socials. They're obviously lovely people. They work their asses off, which you have to do in this industry to make stuff happen. Let's just do a final little inspirational sort of shout out or question, really. If you could sort of tell your younger self someone who's up and coming filmmaker out there now, to give them some advice, what would it be?
What would I say to myself is, man, just have more fun in your life. Like, you just don't take it too serious. Like, if it happens, it happens, but try and have a life, because it can just be all consuming, right? That's what I would say to my younger self for sure.
Easy one for me. Don't wait to be anointed. Basically, like, this isn't about seeking other people's approval. This industry, I know it can feel like that for writers, but it's all about what you want to do and following that rather than trying to seek other people's approval with your work. Basically,
yeah, I was going to say a very similar thing. That don't chase trends. Do your original piece, because that's going to get noticed more. But also, like, the main thing to remember for anyone in the film industry is just don't be a dick. Just be kind. People talk. Just be kind. Help other people. They will help you. Kindness is free, so I don't know why more people don't do it. But like, honestly, if you're just a nice person and you have a modicum of talent, you will get far. People forget that first bit sometimes.
So true. It's one of the toughest businesses out there. And again, we're not, saving lives, etc., but we're making movies and it's tough. And you've got to be resilient. You've got to be strong. You've got to know what you want, and you've got to take it without trampling on people along the way. You've got to support your fellow people, and you've got to really, really work hard and try and plow through, because there's so many scripts and so many people. But you can do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. That's our pearls of wisdom. Thank you, everyone. This has been ace. I really enjoyed it.